And to add to that, sir, even today, Z is in a position to roll out 120 crores from its pockets. So it's just that it's rolling out the money because it's confident about generating this cash flow going ahead. So it does not affect our valuations because the cash flows would be generated in any situation.
Okay, the international business is a fair percentage for Z. Were there any significant risks that you perceive in any particular geography which could impact your evaluation, and how did you account for that there?
So what we saw was in the last 1 year, the international business has not been doing well. Even in the last quarter, that is the Q2 results of the company, they had a 7.9% growth in the international business as compared to double-digit growth which they recorded in the domestic business. So that is one of the concerns that we have with the company, that international business is not really doing well as of today.
However, this performance is in spite the dollar appreciation, right? So ideally they should have gotten much more growth, but they are not able to capture that growth. And in fact, in the Q1 results, there was actually a fall in the international subscription revenues, in spite of the dollar being appreciating. So that means that they are actually losing subscriber base.
And the international business is a high margin business. So if the company is losing out on the international subscriptions, it would affect margins.
That's fine, but have you tried to figure out why the revenues are weak?
So one of the things which we could find was that Star is penetrating very heavily in the Middle East region right now, and as a result there is a fall in subscription in that region. Apart from that, we were not able to find out any significant.
Okay, question, why were the earnings of the company unchanged between FY9 and FY11?
So one of the reasons was the advertising growth. We saw that the economy during that time, the growth was not good in FY9.
Okay, before you dig a deeper hole for yourself, the revenue growth was 20% CAGR. So why was there no profit growth?
So actually what happened is that their profit, EBITDA margins were actually on a downslide, right? And even their PAT margins.
I know.
This happened because there was an increase in content costs. The content costs were actually rising.
Okay, fine. Why did you take this particular cost of equity that you've taken? What was the reason behind that?
So the reason behind that was, one, we felt that Z needs a higher beta than that the market was discounting it. So we have taken an average beta of the Bloomberg estimate, the 5-year regression beta and a bottom-up beta, which gave us a ballpark figure of 0.79, right? So because of that, our cost of equity went up to 13.94.
So what is the equity risk premium you've taken?
7.5%.
And what was the reason for that?
So the reason for that is we actually did a returns analysis for Sensex returns from 1988, right? And that came to around 16%. So deducting 8.5% from that. Yes, the risk-free rate, 8.5%. We got an
No, but so you're taking 8.5, the current bond yield, and you're taking.
Even the average bond yield is in that region. Even in our risk-free rate, we have taken a last 1 year average, because when we are actually building.
So to sort of conclude on what you're saying that the average return on 10-year government bonds from 88 to now is 8.5%.
The last one. The last one.
No, that's his question, that you've taken the long period returns of the equity market, but you've taken 1 year the period for the bond.
So actually, the 15-year return on bond yields was actually 7.9%. Right, it was 7.97. So we felt that is actually very, bloating the cost of equity.
So your first slide said great company, great business in a cell. I still don't buy it. Why would a great business and a great company, which has given great returns in the last 12 months or last 2 years or last 3 years in the stock market, be a sell?
So because in our view, the market is discounting the digitization process which is going to happen too fast and too early and too optimistically, that it will happen on time. Secondly, if you go to see even phase 2 digitization, which was going to get completed, only 55% of that has been completed. So the street is assuming that we'll be able to do that. And secondly, if there is a government change, assuming going ahead, what will be the stance of the new government for digitization is also a question.
But I thought the decision already been taken. Why would
So
a
the
new
bill has been passed in December 2011, but it can be denotified as it was done in the past. Because of, like, even in Chennai today, digitization is still a question.
your earnings growth estimates are pretty aggressive. I kind of noticed that. So you're not expecting revenues to come growth to slow down, but yet you are saying that there is this channel. So what would you? Okay, let me put it differently. What would change your recommendation?
So if digitization takes place as expected, it would change our recommendation.
So-
Because the cash flows, the certainty of cash flows would increase, which would then reduce your cost of capital.
So what we are basically saying is that the pace at which digitization is expected to happen, that will actually lead to very high revenue growth. However, there is certain uncertainties linked to that, and that is those uncertainties we are discounting in the cost of capital or cost of equity and not in the revenue growth itself, right? And therefore, our recommendation is a sell recommendation because of the uncertainties. So if those uncertainties go away, if the political pressures being faced at ground level against digitization go away, then obviously, you know, we would be very happy to give it a buy rating.
In the first slide itself, I was very curious to see that you had 3 circles. So you had future prospects, you had a current business, and something else as well. Why is current business important for valuing a stock?
So because current business actually gives you that what has been the company's performance, right?
How does that help?
Because
Okay, so tell me, when you value a stock, what are you really valuing? You're valuing,
so we are actually valuing the future cash flows of the business.
yeah, so why is the current business important?
So because we do not have very clear visibility in the future, right? So the next best thing you can do is, in certain scenarios, what has the company's management done and how it has faced those situations. So from that you can take an estimation as to, given the uncertainties in the future, what kind of steps the management will take. Because you know, when you're predicting the future, there is no certainty. So all you can fall back is, you know, look at the past and how is the quality of the management, quality of the business.
Okay.
How does the valuation stack up with other international players? I saw one slide which showed, but how does it stack up?
Sir, I'll just go to that slide. So actually, we have taken a 1 year forward EV by EBITDA and 1 year forward PE, and from that we can see that, you know, it is really highly valued, especially in terms of EV by EBITDA, where it is highly above the average. This red line is the average, and when we see that, you know, most of the emerging market companies are in this region, and the developed market companies are in the you know, lesser region. The only exception which we saw was actually Viacom 18. Viacom, right? This is Viacom, and again here this is dominated by TV18. This is actually a US company, Discovery. So in terms of, you know, actually looking
So this list is all emerging markets or all across?
So it is
understand.
actually all across the world. It is emerging markets as well as developed markets. So in all the scenarios, Z was found to be the most expensive stock.
Yeah, but the growth rates in emerging markets and developed market are different, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.